SwayamPrabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Welcome to today's lecture, and if you remember, we have been discussing about the evolution of the conservation movement, and we also discussed some of the doctrines and also some of the international organization which play a very significant role. Today we will talk about World Heritage Sites and what are the significance, what are the World Heritage Sites, what is the process, etc. And also in that context, what are the role of this international organization, etc. Now, if you see these images, they are all from India, very well known sites, Ajanta caves, Hampi, Fatehpur Sikri, Khajuraho and other, Sun Temple of Konark. These are all historical and they are of different types, like there is also the Chhatrapati Shivaji terminus of Mumbai, which is also there. Now, what is common to all of them? They are actually World Heritage Sites, UNESCO World Heritage Sites. Let us go to some other images. Here also, you can naturally identify Taj Mahal, Agra, and there is also Goa, Shachi Stup, Qutub Minar, but also what you can find is that there are also some natural sites, the forest, there is a train also. Now, what are they doing there? Again, there is something common to all of them, that is that they are all part of or inscribed in the UNESCO World Heritage List, and this is the sign which is actually a very important sign, and this sign and this status is what we are going to talk about in next two lectures. So, are this, and we will also talk about the status of the World Heritage Sites in India, but not only in India, because we are we are talking about the World Heritage Site. So, there are World Heritage Sites all over the world. How many can you recognize them? Can you recognize them? There is a site of UNESCO World Heritage Site where you can go and find each of these structures, but not only there are structures, there are areas, there are mountains, there is a modern structure also. Do you know what is that? Can you identify this one? This is not a historic monument at all. This is Sydney Opera House, and this is also a World Heritage Site. So, World Heritage Site does not mean that it only will be built structure, they are natural sites, they are modern structures. This is also in a structure, that this is, find out that what it is, and these are all these areas, the mountains, the water bodies. This is also very important. This you must know about that is Bamyan Buddha sites. So, these are very important, and they are, some are from India, few are from India, and so yeah, I think you should go and try to find out what are these sites and why they are inscribed in the World Heritage Sites, what is so significant about them. And in that process you will understand a lot of things. So, let us see. As I told you that all of these are part of the UNESCO World Heritage enlisted sites, World Heritage Sites. If you can see here, there are an announcement which says that 3 Indian sites make it to the UNESCO World Heritage List, and can you identify them, which are there? So, there is Kaziranga and there is Nalanda, and there is also a capital complex of Chandigarh. It is a very recent event that where 3 Indian sites in only 1 year were enlisted as a part of the UNESCO World Heritage List. It was done in the 40th session of UNESCO, so when all the member countries met there for the World Heritage Convention, they declared these 3 sites. So, it was a great pride for India to see that 3 of its structures or areas or parks, the natural areas, have been inscribed in the World Heritage Site. Now, while we are talking so much about the World Heritage Sites, we must understand that what is a World Heritage Sites and what is the significance of this logo, who takes the decision, what are the criteria, what is the process, and what is also the responsibility or benefit that when certain areas, structures and either historic or modern structures are described as a World Heritage Site. So, this is what we are going to discuss. But before we start our discussion, I must say that these are the reference I am following. The first is this is a very important site, you must all refer to that, very important for documentation or anything to do with that. I am also referring some of the lecture presentation by very 2 noted personalities, which was done during one of the course what we did in IIT Kharagpur in the planning and management of the cultural heritage sites. It was a Gyan course where Professor Yoka Yokoleto is a very noted personality. We talked about him earlier also. He and Dr. Shikha Jain, who was the member secretary, these 2 people came and they delivered certain lectures about the World Heritage Site. I was coordinating that. So, I will be extensively referring to their presentation during that course for discussing the World Heritage Sites, in addition to the site, that UNESCO site, which is a very valuable information it gives and very important site, we can all refer. So, this is what we must understand that I am referring to. Okay, let us start. So, what is a World Heritage? The term World Heritage has been adopted by UNESCO under the Convention Concerning Protection of the World Cultural and Natural Heritage 1972, which is generally referred to as the World Heritage Convention. So, in 1972, UNESCO, for both cultural and natural heritage, this convention was accepted or adopted. It refers to those resources which are cultural, natural and mixed, that can be considered as a shared inheritance of the whole world. What is shared inheritance? We must understand that, because that is the essence of this World Heritage. It also goes on saying that the resources that are unique, not just within a state or a country, but are exceptional and unparalleled in the world. So, all structures, all heritage sites, all natural sites are not fit to be declared as the World Heritage. So, this is a shared inheritance, and this has to be not only important within the country, but it is important for the entire mankind, and that is the significance of the World Heritage. So, the term World Heritage can be used only for those sites that are officially recognized and inscribed so by UNESCO. So, there is a process, not anybody in any nation or somebody can not say that this is the World Heritage Site. This cannot be colloquially applied by anyone for any site. The list of all such universally recognized sites is maintained as the World Heritage List by UNESCO. So, as I told you that if you go to that site, you will country wise, you can find out that which are the sites which are inscribed over the years in the World Heritage List. Now, World Heritage Convention, as I told you, 1972 convention is absolutely important to understand, because it actually set certain guidelines for World Heritage Sites, and it is also not a static one, it has been evolving over the years and changing some of the concepts. The Convention Concerning the Protection of the World Cultural and Natural Heritage 1972, popularly known as the World Heritage Convention 1972, as I told you, is an international treaty between member states of the United Nations. So, one state or country has to be a member state for the United Nations for its properties to be declared as the World Heritage Site. This is the first and foremost criteria for the world. So, that membership of that UNESCO and is to be willing to propose or see that one of his site is inscribed as a World Heritage is absolutely important. So, what it does? It seeks to identify, protect, conserve, present and transmit to future generations the cultural and natural heritage of outstanding universal value, which is in short known as OUV, outstanding universal value. Specific criteria and conditions defined in the operational guidelines of the convention are used to identify properties for inclusion in the World Heritage List. So, as you can see that these operational guidelines of the convention is absolutely important. This is also available in their website with a lot of example it describes. So, this operational guideline is a very important document which talks about the entire process, the criteria and other things. So, as I told you, the outstanding universal value or OUV is a very important part of this World Heritage listing process. Now, India has been a signatory to this convention since 1977 and is obligated to fulfill its provisions in the country. So, India is a party to this convention since 1977, and because of this many of its sites are listed as the World Heritage Site. If you go to that site, the UNESCO site of World Heritage, which I have given the reference, you will see this interactive map, and this interactive map you can click on it is not there, it is just an image, but if you go to the site you can actually click on any point. It will not happen now, but you can click on any point and then it will give the information of that. So, it shows the World Heritage sites are there, but now what you see that in that site there are dots, but these dots all over the world there are different colors. So, some we can see that this is a yellow dots are there, and there are the greens are there, and there are also red are there, and also there are sites which are like this, which is yellow and green combined. So, you see that means there are also some differences in this dot is an interactive map. One can go to the site, click on that and then one can see. So, now here these different colors show different categories. The yellow are the cultural heritage sites, the green are the natural heritage sites, and half green and half yellow, this is the mixed site. And what are the reds? The red are the sites which are listed as the danger sites, the World Heritage in danger. So, we will talk about all of them and what are the criteria and other things. Now, before we go to the criteria, let us talk about who can apply for inscription as a World Heritage. Now, only those countries that are signatory to the World Heritage, I already mentioned that which are signatory to the World Heritage Convention can apply and submit nomination for inscription as a World Heritage. In the convention's parlance, the term used for such country is the state party. So, depending on the country, different states and their structure, there is a state party which can apply. If it is a member country of that convention, they can apply for inscription. In case of India, the state party is Archaeological Survey of India or ASI, who applies under the Ministry of Culture, who applies for this nomination, which is generally called the nomination dossier. So, India is a signatory, as I told, since 1977, and until last year, that is 2017, it has 36 properties on the World Heritage List, of which 28 are cultural and 7 are natural heritage property and 1 is a mixed property. So, you can see that in the map that these sites are there, and 1 is a mixed site, as I told you that this one is a mixed site, and there are other sites, and one can go to and find out that whatever is detailed information about that site. Now, there is a list, I will not go into the detailed list. You can see that what is happening is that the category is given for each of the site, and the year of inscription also is given in the bracket, like Agra Fort, which was inscribed in 1983, which Nalanda is said 2016, Champanir was done in 2004, Elephanta Cave 1987, Fatehpur Sikri 1986. So, there are a lot of sites, there are 28 actually cultural sites, and it continues. You can see that there are very many sites. Red Fort Complex was inscribed only in 2007, and there are also not singular sites like group of monuments in Hampi which was done in 1986. There are rock shelters. So, these all come under, you can see that there are varied types of structures and cultural heritage sites, which are either individually, independently, or as a group they are being inscribed in the World Heritage Sites. And I will talk about sometimes later on also. This is a very interesting thing which is called serial nomination, the hill forts of Rajasthan. We will talk about that later on, that what are. So, you can see that there are varied types or varied groups and categories of the World Heritage Sites which are there. It continues this, as I say, 26. The natural heritage sites are 7, like Great Himalayan National Park, which was done quite recently 2014, and Kaziranga 1985, Keoldev National Park 1985, and Nanda Devi Valley flowers. So, sometimes one can add on to an existing site. So, you can see the Nanda Devi Valley and flowers, which is the number 5. You can see that it was done twice because it was added up certain area. Sundarban is there, Western Ghats. And there is also the Kanchenjunga National Park, which is coming under the mixed site. So, these are coming under the broad category of the natural sites. Now, what is the process of becoming? It is not, it takes years almost sometimes to prepare the nomination dossier and to place that, because there is a very, very tough condition. But more than that, what is important is that when we are talking about the world heritage, that means we are talking about the entire mankind and all over the world. So, many variety of the world heritage important sites are there, and to select sites from there which are important for the mankind, and we are talking about the shared heritage, it's quite a tough job to do that. It's not only the competition, it's the how well one can present and what is the really the significance, how one prepares for that, how one manages those sites, all these are very important. So, there is a very I mean well documentation process and well research process, sort of managed process is there, which talks about or which goes into the selection of the world heritage. So, what is that process? Every year each willing, there is no compulsion that one has to submit, but every year each willing state, party or country submits the property nominations for review to UNESCO, that it aspires to get included in the World Heritage List. As I told you, this is the nomination dossier which has to be submitted each country. And but now there are so many, and every year so many sites are being added to the list. Now there is some sort of a limitation. The annual limit set by UNESCO for nomination by each state or country, including India, there are 2 proposals. So, every year one can give 2 proposals. One is under the cultural property heritage property category, the other is under the the other is on the natural heritage property or mixed heritage property or cultural landscape. So, these are the two categories one each country can submit for inclusion or for consideration in each year. But there is a I mean you have to find out, because on particular year I said 3 sites, the year I showed you the where capital complex of Chandigarh and Kaziranga and also Nalanda, it was inscribed. So, how come the 3 sites were inscribed in 1 year? You have to find for that, and that is a very interesting issue which you will understand if you try to find that why in a particular 1 year 3 sites from India were selected. Find out. If you start looking into the site, you should be able to answer that. I will tell it later. Now, what happens in the process? So, as I told you that in each category, either in a cultural or natural or mixed landscape, there can be in each category one nomination can be submitted to the UNESCO. The nominations are generally submitted, that nomination dossier which I talked about, the World Heritage Center at Paris, which is the coordinator and the focal office handling all matters related to the World Heritage within UNESCO, and acts as the secretariat to the World Heritage Committee. So, this is very important and it has to be done the year before. There are certain timelines, the deadlines and other things which are given, very strictly followed. The nominations are then forwarded to 2 of the UNESCO's advisory bodies. Which are the 2? We have talked about that. One is ICOMOS, cultural, and this ICOMOS is NGO voluntary organization, which I said an international importance. So, ICOMOS plays a very important role for cultural and mixed nomination, and IUCN which considers natural and mixed nomination. So, these 2 organizations are very important and they play an advisory role and play a very important role in the process of scrutiny and helping UNESCO World Heritage Committee to come to certain decision. So, as I told you, they are very important part. This organization, which are these organization? This organization comprise of professionals which deal with the things from relevant discipline. They are multidisciplinary people who are expert over the years, they have experience and they perform the technical evaluation of this nomination. So, this is a process, this is a very lengthy process. This includes examination of the dossier and as well as a primary site visit. The experts come and see the site, talk to the different people, the bodies and other things. So, and try to see what are they have some doubts, they also come back. So, this is a very lengthy and quite a tough process where it requires involvement of a lot of organizations, state party, experts, people and the members and the local chapters of ICOMOS and IUCN. On the basis of these evaluations, the advisory bodies, that is ICOMOS and IUCN, then recommends whether a property can be inscribed or not, and that takes years sometimes, and the year before the final dossier is given and the process of evaluation starts. Now, this is an image which is the World Heritage Committee meeting in Krakow in Poland, which is also a World Heritage site, which took place in July 2017. And you can see, you can have an image or an idea about that what goes on, and a lot of excitement happens there, and and also a lot of tension that it's a tough competition, and that which site will be inscribed as the World Heritage Site. This competition is not like first, second or third, there is not a limitation like that, but which are fit to be, which that advisory committee and the entire body, the members think that it is ought to be put into the list. There are other consideration, more and more other consideration are coming, then they inscribe it. So, there is no sort of that way first, second or third, something like that, but it is that it has to prove that is significant, that it is of outstanding universal value. That is a very important part of this. Now, this I said 2017. Do you know which property was declared as a World Heritage Site of India in 2017 and under which category? Find out. You will find that in UNESCO World Heritage list find out that whether one or which was inscribed and which category. Also in that process you can find out that which are the other properties from other countries was declared or enlisted or included in the World Heritage listing. Anyway, this is basically the process. As I told you, from the state party nomination dossier and how the evaluation start processing, and ultimately this, and once it is inscribed, then actually that logo what we talked about can be put into officially on that site. And whenever you go to the World Heritage sites in India or outside India, you will see that logo will be there. Now, one wonders that, okay, so this is a tough thing, we have proven that it is a World Heritage Site. Now, what are the benefits of the World Heritage Sites, that after going through such a process and getting one site included in the World Heritage Sites, what are the benefits? Let us see the benefit. First and foremost, it is the recognition, an international recognition at a global level. This is a shared heritage resources of the entire humanity, which is a matter of immense pride for any country. And the privileges of the World Heritage Sites include, one would have thought that is the financial benefit, is really not that much of financial benefit in that way, but it is basically the international visibility and status as one of the most important natural and or cultural places of the earth. And this recognition and that it is of a unique heritage, outstanding and important, that is what is most important to be put as a World Heritage Site. It is also a trendsetter for the heritage protection and management in the country for other sites, including better recognition and appreciation. It almost works as something to look up to, and that how it is managed, why it is there. It is not that every sites have to be declared as a World Heritage Site, but it actually gives a trendsetter for heritage in the life of the community, apart from the visibility. It also gives a lot of importance because opportunities to mobilize funding and support. It is not the UNESCO gives the funding, but it helps in mobilize the funding and the support, including the donors and the World Heritage Fund. For example, the Ajanta, Ellora, the Japanese government has helped a lot in sort of protecting the natural environment around that because it is a World Heritage Site. And even when a World Heritage Site is some problem happens, then all the member countries and other countries extend their support, maybe technically, maybe financially or other form to this. So, it becomes a sort of responsibility of all the member countries because it is a World Heritage Site, and that is the most important factor when we talked about the World Heritage Sites. So, to continue that, but one thing also very important when we talk about the benefit of the World Heritage Site is more visibility. Another corollary of that is the tourism. A lot of international tourists, because it becomes so well known, come to the site, and it also increases revenues, and it also creates some problem which we will talk about much later, the management of tourism, but it also definitely, because of increased visibility, it increases a lot of global tourism and increase revenues. However, with this comes some other responsibilities. What is the responsibility? Responsibility is that it has to meet the international standards for protection, maintenance and management of the property as a World Heritage Site. So, just being inscribed is not enough. To retain the status of that property, inscribed property as a World Heritage Sites, it give a lot of responsibility on the state party and the people and the government of that country, that how so that it maintains. And this is a very important challenge because when a country generally when a country sees that the UNESCO is threatening that it will put it on the danger list and other, it is not a very good sort of a thing for the country generally. So, as you can see that there are the list of the World Heritage Sites in danger. If there are 54 properties at the moment, which this red dots all over them, that they are talking about these dangerous sites. When you go to the site, I have just mentioned some of them country wise, that there are many sites which are now entered that. It continues, I have not given all the list. You can see that many of these sites are endangered sites, and Very recently, terrorism is one of the aspects which is consciously putting a lot of this heritage site. Bamiyan Buddha is one of them, and many other sites in Syria and other things which are World Heritage Sites, which are consciously, purposely sort of demolished as a challenge to UNESCO. This is something which is very important, but this terrorism is only one aspect. There can be natural threats, there can be lack of maintenance, there can be the other issues of the World Heritage Site. So, in our next lecture, we will continue with that what is the responsibility comes when a site is inscribed as the World Heritage Site, and when it is put into the danger and list, and how it can be managed, how it can be protected, and what are the responsibility which is comes on the shoulder of the state party when it is inscribed as a World Heritage Site. Thank you.